First, thank you for inviting me to this Jeju Forum, and thank you for giving me a chance to receive the interview at this precious place. I'm very happy to be here. My name is Kimura from Kobe University, Japan, and my major is Korean politics and international relations in this region, Northeast Asia. Well, you asked me about the immediate threat in this region. Of course, there are many people find that the North Korea is the most immediate threat, but I am not saying it is so immediate because on the issues of the North Korea, the objectives of the North Korean development on nuclear weapons and the ballistic missile is very clear. They lost the cover from the Soviet Union and China about nuclear weapons in the early 1990s. So, originally they wanted to regain the nuclear balance against the United States. So they are making those kind of developments. So in other words, it is very crucial and important, but basically it is a kind of defensive project. So I am not thinking that the North Korea will start the war or something, thundering against South Korea or Japan or the United States. But if you compare with the North Korean situation, I understand that the tension between US and China is at least much more crucial and can be very immediate threat. Because that as long as China has a huge population, very huge, it is impossible for us to expect that the Chinese expansion of the economy and military power will stop in the very short period. I expect they will continue. The speed might be slowed down, but they will continue the expansions. And as a result of the expansion of the Chinese power, militarily and economically, of course, the power balance between the US and China have to be collapsed or have to be damaged or have to be changed. And more important thing is that between US and China, I think that there can be chances or risk of the miscalculation, especially when we look back the governance system of China. Their system is not so clear, of course, not so democratic. And so, for example, as a result of the power struggles in China itself, they may have a kind of a situation which is very hard even for them to control. But if compared to in North Korea, the situation is much more simple. Kim Jong has everything. So if we can get good communication with Kim Jong-un, the chances of the miscalculation might be very small. But in China, they are changing. They have the power struggle. So they might have the miscalculation. Of course, the United States doing. Trump's government still doesn't have the very firm and clear different policy against China and or in this region. So if President Trump trying to take the very populistic approach to the region, they might have the chances of the miscalculation. So in that reason, I take the relationship or the progress or power balance between the US and China is at least more crucial and can be a very immediate threat. And if it happens, it is a very serious situation. Wow. I think the people have to understand the different situation of Japan. For example, between the 1990s and today's. In the 1980s and 1990s, because our economic situation was very good, so we try to have a kind of neutral and autonomous stance even against the United States because we believe that we have power. But at this situation, we are not having that kind of situation. As you know, of course, the Prime Minister Abe is saying something about the military expansions. But at the same time, he is one of the champions of the Japanese position of pro-American side. Pro-American side. This is one of the another very characteristic of the Abe's diplomatic policy, especially the changing after the DPJ's government policy. DPJ tried to have some kind of distance even from the United States, but the Abe, want to go to the other directions. So in that meaning that there is no, I don't think that there is a situation that Abe himself can be a threat to the regional security situation, because we cannot do anything by ourselves in this situation. And another thing is that, of course, I myself have many things to worry about the Japanese situation, not just about the prime minister, but a lot of things. But also, you have to know that discourse and discourse and reality, military reality to military reality. This is a different kind of things. So of course, Abe is also having a kind of populistic type of leadership. So he wants to appeal to the public with showing Japan is strong, or Japan became strong after his government. Okay, we can understand. But if you see the scale of the budget, military budget, there is no, the major increasing of the military budget. It is not because of Abe, but it is just a limitation, because of the limitation of the Japanese economic situation. So in that meaning, there might be a reason, and I can understand you have the reason to worry about the Abe's statement of the Abe's discourses or nationalist sentiment in Japan. But I'm happy if you can see the more different side of the Japanese situation now we are facing. This is the thing that I'm going to talk at my session at the Jeju Forum. But as I said, that anyway, I don't understand that today's major issue in this region is the changing power balance between U.S. and China, and in that kind of situation, I believe that we should make our situation we can have less chances of the miscalculation. So in that meaning that, for example, you might, for example, that South Korean people might actually talking about a lot of things about the third missile system. And we know that U.S. wants South Korea to have it, and China is against it. But I don't think that the third issue is a real or actual issue, which the China is irritated. Because, for example, we understand that Japan, especially in Japan, we understand the reason for China to be afraid about the third missile system is not the missile itself, but the expand radar, very high spec radar. With the high spec radar, U.S. and South Korea can see the 5,000 kilometers, from the radar side, far deep inside to China. So of course they don't like to see such kind of radar system in Korean Peninsula. We can understand, but Japan now has it, right? Do you know that? In the Misawa bases of the Japanese self-defense force, we already have expanded radar system. And the distance from the Misawa to, South Korea is almost 1,000 kilometers or 1,500. It means that China, we are already watching inside China. But, the China, we got it in 2006, if I am right. But China was never have a very strong criticism against Japanese to have such a kind of expanded radar system, because it was very clear, it is very clear, however much pressure they make or they made against Japan, our relationship or the baseline of our defense policy will not be changed. So they have no reason to make pressure against Japan. because they have or had no chance. It is because that our alliance between Japan and the United States is very stable, and also they have no chance to make changing. But in case of especially under Park Geun-hye government, Park Geun-hye put a very big importance on almost on the same level of importance on China. And she approached to China to try to have a better relationship. Of course, it's a good thing, but for China, it looked like they had the chance to change the situation, relation, or alliance between the South Korea and of course United States. So they are trying to challenge against the Start missile system. Because they expected that they might be able to get something by that kind of pressures. So such a kind of seesawing the South Korean diplomacy can be the one of the reasons for us, unfortunately, to see more kind of tensions, in this region. So I am saying that miscalculation, the word miscalculation, is one of the very important keywords for us to have a very stable, strategic situation in this region. Because if they perfectly can expect the reaction or action or behavior of the other part, and they will not have any miscalculation, and they will not conduct a so risky, approach against the other covert. But if they found they had a chance, they will try. Like Kim Jong-il started the war with expecting that they can win. They could win in 1950s. Although it was a miscalculation, and Kim Jong-il started, Kim Il-sung started the war in 1950 with expecting U.S. would not join the war. This is another kind of miscalculation. So in the meaning that so in 1950s, because U.S. didn't have the so clear sense about Korean Peninsula, so there was a chance for the Kim Il-sung to make miscalculation. So in that meaning that we have to make such a kind of very easily understood situation in this region with having the very high level of communication. If so, there will not be a so big risk for the wars with North Korea or between US and China. It's my understanding. I don't expect, whatever thing you explain to China, China will give go or yes for the third alignment in South Korea. And this is very this kind of I have a lot of chances to be asked by the South Korean people like this, because that you have that kind of situation, imagine the situation between Japan and Japan and South Korea. We have, of course, the conflict women, the problems regarding the conflict women issues. And now new President Moon Jae-in explained to Mr. Abe to make him to understand the public sentiment about the conflict women agreement, which was made at the end of 2015. But I don't believe that kind of the statement or sentiment can be a reason for the other country to have a cooperation with, because we understand it is just a domestic situation in South Korea, and of course, as a specialist of South Korean politics, I know how much you have big frustration, how much big frustration you have on such a kind of political game between two powers. but this is a very structure, the problems. So you cannot manage that kind of things, with explaining the domestic things. So only things the South Korean can do is to decide something, have or not have, or not have, not have, and of course so in that meaning that of course you have to have a talk. I mean that the South Korean government need to have a talk or communication with South Korean people to explain about what they can do and what they cannot do. I think this is one of the very important elements of the democratic leaders. Especially on the diplomacy, on the domestic, even on the domestic situation. For example, because of the limitation of the budget, the whole politicians, there are a lot of things they cannot do, even when whatever the people expected them to do so. On the diplomacy, there are a lot of more limitations and very limited space for each country to take the diplomatic policies. But if the one country is talking the same issue and again, you will see the similar kind of situation, like concurrent women issue between Japan and South Korea, with about the third issue between China and South Korea. I think it is the worst nightmare for South Korean people. And of course, that of course, South system is not everything to protect from the ballistic missiles. So, of course, as once South Korean government insisted, you might develop your own missile defense system and refuse the U.S. request. Of course, it will hurt your relationship with the United States. But if you need to take the risk, you should take. But point is, if you cannot decide something, the tension will continue. And the major power will find the chances to intervene, to change your diplomatic policy. That is the worst scenario, I believe. If you don't like to have a similar kind of problem with Japanese, against Chinese. First of all, I do not think. I'm repeatedly saying I don't think. But I don't think that we have a chance to make something like EU in these regions. Because I believe that there are reasons about why the now European people are frustrated or are started to wonder about the EU system. It is not. I don't think it is just because of the immigrations or terrorism, but because they are losing the reasons why they have to have such a kind of system with neighbor countries. Because this is my basic understanding about the today changing world. In 1990, until 1990s or 1980s, I mean before the globalization, the neighbor countries are very important. Maybe the one of the first important partners for our economic cooperations and of course military cooperations. But simply because they were neighbors, and it was very hard for us to have a business or communications with the country which is far from us. But now after globalization, it had become much easier for us to have the contact communication with four countries. And the four countries, for Japan or for South Korea, like Brazil or Russia or South Africa, is becoming more and more important partner for us. As a result of the increasing importance of the country which is far from us, of course, our dependencies, economic dependency, on the neighbor countries have to be decreased. So this is simple calculation, I think. And so now that there are, yes, I welcome that the South Korean people are struggling to make the kind of economic order here in Northeast Asia. But as you know very well, the Japanese and the Chinese now are not so much interested in about that. Japan want to have more cooperation on so-called Asia-Pacific region, like Australia or India or Indonesia. And China want to have their, the strategy like having the Silk Road, the new Silk Road, something. Okay? They are more, looking the west side. Of course, it means that the whole Japanese, whole Japanese or Chinese, the regions, the framework of Northeast Asia is not so much charming, becoming not so much charming, and not so much, the important. At least they are becoming understood. So, of course, in the United States, Mr. Trump, can challenge against their economic cooperation with Mexico, and showing their chances, showing the more other chances with like a country like Saudi Arabia or something like that. So, in that meaning that this is basic, and I don't think that this trend will stop in the short run. So in that meaning that we need to have a strategy, not just on the security, but also on the economy, with calculating or with counting that kind of changing situation. So, and of course, we need to have some ideas. And also, this is the things I am always saying to the Japanese public, for example. So in this world, because in the globalization, we are living in the situation where I need to have neighbor countries. Of course, neighbor country like China is thinking the same kind of things against Japan. But if we need to have a cooperation, and if China is very important for the South Korean economy, well, you shouldn't just explain the importance of China to you, but you should explain more about how you are important to China or Japan. That's the point. So you shouldn't you shouldn't talk so much about the domestic situation, domestic problem yourself. If you explain the domestic problems, we expect, they are having just chaotic situation, so you cannot be the important partner for us. But if you can give us some reason for the cooperation, we can make a cooperation. And then you will have more chances even for the business. So in the meaning that, our economy, and I believe this is globalization. So globalization shade during the kind of shadows to the different parts of the world, and in the different kind of issues, economies and securities, and of course the changing the power balance between US and China is a part of it. So in that situation, of course, so we should, so we have to think about two things. First, as I said, we have to have a message how Japan or South Korea, is important to the world. You have to have your own logic. Otherwise, the other country will never have a very positive cooperation with you or with us. This is the first thing. And the second thing, if you believe that the Northeast Asia framework is important in economy, we also have to have logic. Why Northeast Asia? And ideas, what we can do. Because there are a lot of things. Because the geographic, the things is something very important. For example, when Japanese, had a very severe damage at East Japan earthquake, great earthquake in 2011. It was American forces which came first to the Tohoku region to make a rescue. Simply because they were have their bases in Okinawa. They were there. And of course, the far country, like Europeans or Brazilian, never can send such a kind of big number of people suddenly to Japan in 24 hours. It is impossible. So like this, there are a lot of things that we can do because we are located in the very close situation. But before that, we need to have the idea. And so if we have to have, if I find that kind of idea, okay, we can make it a business, the business chances, and we can make it to use for the security cooperation. So in that meaning, we are changing. So we might have another kind of chance. So we shouldn't worry so much, I think. On TPP, anyway, the Trump government refused to have it. So we have no chance to force the United States to sign on it. So, but on the securities issues, unfortunately, there are just a huge number of countries which has a very big international impact to change the situation. But on economy, we can find a lot of partners. Well, U.S. is of course important. But of course, even after the failure of the TPP with the United States, of course, the economic relation will continue. Like all days. It means that we will not lose anything about the United States. But on TPP, so Japanese government tried to make another kind of TPP without the United States, like Argentina or the Australia or something. I think it can be a good idea, because that if we have more chances for the economic cooperation, we can have more chances of the success on the business. So of course, I understand. So that such a kind of political situation shouldn't be linked to the economic situation. And on the economic situation, of course, we should have as many cooperation as possible with other countries, so we can have more flexibility. So in that meaning that it might be a good chance, or it might be a good thing for Abe government trying to have the TPP without the United States, because it is a sign that they or Abe, or Prime Minister Abe, think that the U.S. is not everything on their economic success. So that this kind of the understanding or way of thinking might be important even for South Korean people when you have the strategy against China. Well, as I said, that of course that you have the new government, and we welcome the new government. But one of the things we have to have is the communication. Very frankly speaking, it was very sad for us when the previous government, President Park Geun-hye, refused even to have a summit meeting with our Prime Minister. Okay, of course we can understand the reason of your frustration. But without communication, we cannot change the world. And if we can make a communication, and even when we cannot have the successful negotiation, by exchanging our understanding, you can have less miscalculations. I believe so. In that meaning, communication between nation and nation and communication between elite and mass is important. So the little meaning, as you repeated in the big demonstration in Seoul against Park Geun-hye, President Park Geun-hye, Soton, communication must be the one of maybe the just most important thing in the state world.